As I introduce our first guest tonight, was a student at BYU when Max Hall was the quarterback over at the football stadium just a couple years ago. He dazzled the crowds with his ability to throw the football while she entertained the masses with the drums and guitar. Still putting on a show as the drummer for the band Neon Trees. Our pleasure to welcome Elaine Bradley to the Wise Guys. As mentioned, maybe the coolest guest we've ever had on the show. Certainly has worn the brightest sweater in the history of the show.
Hello.
So, hey, welcome.
I don't think it's
good to have you here.
You can say maybe. We can decide.
Yeah. Well,
right
I just threw the maybe out to make her comfortable.
No, you can. This is loud.
Okay, it's the coolest.
I did some research. I watched your podcast. I was like, what's the set like? How are my colors going to complement their colors?
So you knew.
Did you know I was wearing royal today?
Well, I assumed that some blue would be worn because it's the Wise Guys.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
It's good to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Take us to the Rock Boat Offshore in Miami where the band played in January. What was that like?
Oh, that was so fun. It was a blast. So I had never been on a cruise in my life, and I kind of had the attitude of I don't want to ever go on a cruise unless I'm paid to go on one, because you've heard those horror stories about being out at sea. Yeah. And an illness breaks out.
They're always on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've done that. Had the illness break out. The guys in the white hazmat suits coming to the cabins next to us. So I've been on one of those.
Oh, see, there you go. Yeah. Or you have you get stranded, or like a storm rolls in and everybody throws up,
So how far out to sea are you?
We went pretty far. So we went from Miami, and then we went to, I think it was the Dominican Republic first.
Oh, wow.
And then I think the Bahamas.
Was this like a full-on cruise ship size vessel?
It was the Norwegian Pearl.
There you go. That's
what did you just horsed around all day and then the band played every night, or what?
Better than that. We only played 3 of the 5 nights. So
oh my God.
It was basically like a really fun hang and like a meet and greet, one, and 3 shows, which were great also. So it was a great time. I have a great job.
Were there? This is a great job. Everybody always wants to do something else. Everybody always says to Dave and I, man, you just get to sit courtside and talk about a basketball game, and then you get to sit there and call a football game. What kind of a job is that? And you get to talk to Elaine Bradley but we all want to be musicians. That's what I want to be.
I don't know if I really want another job. I like this one. I love getting to work for BYU TV for Grace Notes. I feel like the 2 jobs that I have are like personal dream jobs. So I got nothing to complain about.
So when we were in Vegas,
your dreams don't come true when you don't get to do what you want to do, right?
When we were in Vegas for the West Coast Conference tournament, Keith Urban opened his residency down there at Planet Hollywood.
Nice.
And Blaine and his wife, Brenda, hadn't seen Keith Urban. And so we said, we have to go. And so our wives came down. Yeah. We were done with our double headers and we went. And he's just the best. And what did you think? It blew your mind.
I'm from New York, so I'm not a big country guy, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm learning. My wife's from Utah, so there's I know Tim McGraw and I know some country bands. I'm a hip hop guy, so I do know Neon Trees though.
Great.
But and I've gotten to know Dan a little bit, Reynolds, so I follow Imagine Dragons pretty close. But just the sheer I was blown away. First of all, how good he is as a guitarist.
Oh,
he is
excellent.
A phenomenal guitar player.
He might be better at guitar than he is at singing. He's a great singer.
Yeah, no, it blew my mind how good he was, because he was playing lead, like a bunch of the leads, and I was first of all I was blown away by that. He's also a phenomenal entertainer. Like the show was well put together, and it was great entertainment value. And even though I didn't know very many of his songs, I knew a few of them. I thought it was fantastic.
Well, and Keith Urban does the good thing where he is a country artist, but not really.
No, he's a country rock.
He's a country for everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're sitting there.
My wife just likes Keith Urban.
Yeah, so does mine.
I don't even think she cares about his music. She just likes Keith Urban.
So we're sitting there.
He's a little too fancy for me.
We're sitting there wishing we were rock stars as we're watching that. And but you get to be one. And so you're on this cruise ship. Okay. And so the day goes, you're jet skiing and watching dolphins and all that stuff.
No, but
when does the band start playing?
We did go jumping off of waterfalls in the Dominican Republic.
God.
So that was pretty fun.
That's cool.
But also there was toilet paper floating in the water. So it's like.
That's not
in
cool.
In the Dominican Republic?
Yeah.
Okay, scratch that one off.
Exactly. Like you jump off and you're like, yay. And then this stream of toilet paper. And you're like, oh, we don't know where that came from.
Oh, this is where the sewage comes down to the ocean. Okay.
So you just kind of close your mouth and hope for the best.
Right. So you survive survive that. How does a show happen on the boat?
Okay, well, so the Norwegian Pearl, as I said, is a pretty big boat, right? So they do it to where the main deck, where the pool is, half of the pool is closed, and they had, boards over it or whatever. So the main show area was there.
Yeah.
And then on the sports deck, which I was a little upset with, that they had to close the sports deck to have shows.
Yeah, that's okay with us, though.
I mean, is it? Anyway, at least the gym was open, so I got to hit the gym a couple times. But
good.
Sports deck was where they had like a smaller show area. Then there's like an amphitheater in the boat.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty big. It has like the stadium seating or whatever. So that was like a mid-sized venue. And then they had a couple other small like lounges or whatever where you'd play. So we played the main deck once. We were supposed to have played it twice, but the second time it was way too windy. Yeah. So it was like super dangerous. The first time it was super windy because you're on a boat,
right? Yeah.
Which
in international waters.
Yeah, I started doing the updo because of
the wind.
Yeah, because
you got to see.
All my hands are busy, right?
Yeah.
My legs are busy, so I can't use my foot.
No.
Even if I were flexible, couldn't use it. And I'm singing this way, right? And the wind was blowing from here, so
the hair is just doing this thing
into my mouth.
Yeah,
it's a lot of. Then nobody wants to hear that,
right?
Or
see it.
Exactly. So anyway, the second show that we were supposed to have on the boat deck, which was supposed to be the last final show, actually got moved to a different venue because it was just too dangerous.
Different crowd every night, or was it the same folks just coming to see again?
Well, I think it was different because there are shows simultaneously going on all around the boat, like at least 4 or 5 shows, like staggered happening.
It's like Vegas on the open water?
Yeah, so what we thought, we were like, well, how does this work? This is our first time. There are so many people that have been there 19 years, 17 years, 15 years. This is like how they spend their vacation. Money and time, Yeah. So they were telling us, no, the crowd is never the same at the beginning as at the end, because you either go to the first half of somebody's show and the second half of somebody else's show, or vice versa.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a steady flow, about the same amount of people, but just coming and going.
I think all these people stole my life that I was supposed to have.
Yeah.
Can you play the drums seasick?
I didn't find out because luckily I didn't get seasick.
You didn't get seasick? See, I would get seasick.
Have you ever played before where you're actually moving while you're playing?
No, that was weird. So the second show we had was down in that amphitheater, which was kind of lower and kind of towards the front of the boat.
Yeah,
right?
so you're getting a little bit of motion.
And we were leaving port, so it was this. Unfortunately for Tyler, our sweet and dear singer, I love him, he had a room that was like the envy of all of us until that day, because his room was at the very front of the boat. So it was like the view was panoramic and amazing, and it was like, wow. So he had us over to his room and we were hanging out or whatever. But that happens, and he got so sick. So he has to do the show, and the boat's still moving. So he had his head in the toilet until like down beat time. We were a couple minutes late. He got it together and was just apologizing to the crowd, but he did great.
The show must go on, though, right? That's you've told the story before.
I was on a whaleboat watching thing. I was seasick in 5 minutes. My kids were worse.
Oh, no.
Dave and
I'm like, if I seen other fish, and we just stayed out there forever, it was just
Dave
awful.
and I were doing a live broadcast of a live sporting event in Colorado, and I ate some bad barbecue before the start of the game, and I actually, like in the middle of the game while he's calling the game, and it's live television, I just go like this and leave for a minute.
No, he left. I didn't know he was coming back.
He's like, I don't know. The producer's talking in his ear. He's like, I don't know.
Game's going on.
He's just doing play-by-play and color. And then I came back, and I had him take a garbage pail and just put a bunch of garbage can liners in it, like 10 of them thick.
Yeah.
And every time we went to a commercial, I would throw up. They'd wrap it up, take it off. If we do the next segment of the show, I'd do it again.
Oh man,
the show must go on.
I once got Bali belly. If we want to talk about that,
in
you guys
Bali?
Heard of that? Yes, in Bali.
I've heard of it. Yeah,
it struck me
Doesn't
hard.
sound good.
It wasn't good, and so the Bali show was fine. So I came down with it like the day after. We had a couple of days off between Bali and Australia, and I had to fly later because I couldn't fly. I couldn't leave. I was room bound for a good 36 hours.
I hear that. That whole area, or dengue fever, or like all kinds of crazy stuff over there.
It zapped me so hard. So when I finally flew to Australia, I was not better. I still hadn't eaten. So it had been like 3 days of just like, so my body is just gone.
And you got to play the drums with no energy.
So every time the adrenaline takes over. The show must go on. But every time I'd finish a song, I would just lean on my snare, just on my snare drum. Just
and
my goodness.
You actually have the most physical job in the band, without question, right?
It's Tyler or me. I think mine's more like consistently, but I mean Tyler is singing at full volume
and he's jumping around.
You know what I mean?
So but you don't stop.
I don't stop.
Brandon just over there standing there
playing the bass.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he doesn't do it looking like that. Yeah, he looks like he's having fun, but yeah.
So Brandon, we're talking about Brandon Campbell, of course, the bass player who we had on the show not too long ago. He joined us in the fall. The bass player in the band. You both joined the band in 2006.
7.
Oh, was it 7?
7.
Mm-hmm.
2006. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and he's not quite as cool as you. That's why you're the coolest. But it was pretty fun to have Brandon
I think
on.
we would both agree about that.
Yes.
But we're okay with it. We love each other.
So
you know?
and you guys have been friends.
He's got
and
strengths that I don't have.
friends
Yeah,
and colleagues.
he's good.
What's the best part about being in a band? You talked about some of the challenges.
Sure.
Right. But what's the best part about being in a band, and especially when you can just make a career out of it?
Well, okay, so I'll tell you the best part about being in my band, because I don't know what other people's experiences are like, but the things that I love about being in my band, I sincerely enjoy who I'm in a band with. You know, we're all so different,
Right.
and hilariously so, where it's like we're characters of ourselves sometimes. Like we call Chris, the guitarist, he's a Muppet, because he's such an interesting, funny, quirky, kind individual, and he's just not anything like any of us, you know? Tyler is like gregarious and like such a performer, but he's such a real dude. You know, like he takes the stage and then he takes the stage. But
Right.
off the stage, he's normal and fun and sarcastic and like such a good hang. And Brandon's a sweet individual who like just loves rock and roll. Like
Yeah.
just loves. I think of all of us, he loves rock and roll the most, just as a genre.
He's a purist,
You know what I-
right? He
Yeah,
really is.
absolutely. He's like,
I got that when he was on the show, for sure.
I feel like he's earned an honorary doctorate of rock and roll, you know, whereas
Yes.
I'm more like, I love doing what I do, but I don't really care about the other people who have done it. You know what I mean? And when he's
Right.
like, this guy did it then, and in this year, it was actually this guy. Did you know that?
He
And
was
he's that
dropping all
guy.
kinds of names on
yeah,
us.
he's like he was
Yeah.
wowing us with
He's the
his rock and roll
encyclopedia.
history. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Actually,
So what's the plan for the Neon Trees the rest of the year?
Oh man, we got so much exciting stuff going on. So we just finished up in the studio for an album.
Oh, nice.
wow.
Yeah, I mean,
And how many
where
solos
do you
have?
record? Is it California?
LA,
Oh, in
yeah.
LA.
We
Yeah,
usually get
everybody
together
does
in LA, yeah.
Are you prepared to announce you have some solos on there?
I mean, me personally, it's all mouth solos. It's like a
So there's no song. It's like, you know, even Peter Criss from Kiss got his own song.
Yeah.
And then everyone else sang the others. Are there any of those for you?
No, unfortunately
all
not.
right.
But
So-
Tyler's great at what he does. So I mean, I have my passion projects that like I get to do that in. But Neon Trees, I'm happy to perform the role I perform.
Okay.
you
And some
know?
drum solos in there?
Heavens no, that is my least favorite part of
Really?
any band. Yes, I mean I think it's cool that people can do what they do, but it's usually after like 10 seconds, I'm like, nah, now move on. You know what I mean? Like I don't call myself a drummer, really. People are like, oh, you're a whatever drummer. And I'm like, I don't really even consider myself
You're
a
a
drummer.
musician?
And
Is that
you
what you
play
want?
the guitar as well, right?
do.
In fact, you started playing the guitar.
Well, I started playing the drums and didn't care about it.
Right.
I only did it because it was fun, like to bang on stuff, but I never thought about it like I'm going to be a drummer.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, these are fun. And then I wanted to sing in a band. That's all I ever wanted to do was sing in a band. And then I started playing the guitar because I played the drums in my band only until we could get a drummer. This was back in high school.
Right. Yeah.
And then we got a really great drummer. And then while I was on the drums for that like year and a half, I was watching the guitarist. So I just learned that way. And then I played guitar for like 7 years.
Yeah.
And sang in a band and toured, whatever. And then I would watch the drummer and I was like, oh, that's how you do it. So then I came back to BYU for college.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Right.
Go Cougars.
that
and-
sounded just like it.
It did.
It doesn't
Cosmo.
stadium.
It really did.
Yeah,
it was good.
Anyway, that was a light one too.
was
I
good.
could really dig in.
It was good.
But anyway, so I did it. I had the drum set because I would just do it for my own music or recording. And I, as a favor to a friend, was like, I got some drums. Why don't we play guitar? You play the guitar, I'll play the drums, because both of us on guitar kind of is dumb. And it was really cool. So I just kind of got stuck behind the drums as a favor to a friend. And that's how my life went. So
Sweet.
here I still am.
So when does the album come out?
I don't know. We haven't really announced it. So you guys are getting the early tip.
Okay.
That's
all
pretty
right. So
awesome.
it's done.
It's not done. So like
It's almost done?
You know when you're done record, I don't know if you know this, but when you're done recording, there's so much else. There's like the mixing and the mastering
Yeah.
and the tweaking and the I don't know and the what about
And sometimes do you go back and record more tracks?
That's happened historically.
Yeah.
I think we're done, but you never know.
Right.
You know, so we don't have a release date yet. We're just gearing up. There's just a lot of exciting
And
things.
the
that are
tour
like-
comes after that?
That's the hope, man.
Okay.
That's the hope.
Okay,
So
now
we're
be
routing-
honest. In these songs that you've got, is there one that's going to top Animal? Is there one where you just go, oh, this?
Well, I mean-
people are going to love this one.
I love. Here's
do you
the
love 'em
thing.
all?
I'm really excited about this album. Like I've liked everything we've done.
Yeah.
Like
Do
to
you
a
have
certain
a
extent.
favorite song that you guys have recorded?
Like just ever?
Ever that you've ever recorded? Because it's probably not one that everybody thinks it is.
I mean, it's not. It is what people would think it is if they knew it. Okay. So on our third album, Pop Psychology, there's a song called Unavoidable that Tyler and I wrote together. You know, so it's like a duet, and like I sing just as much lead as he does, and so it's cool and exciting. And it's like it's like a person, like you were saying, like everybody gets there. That was like the one time. So
do you have an idea though which one's going on the radio first? When you walk out of the studio, do the four of you have a feeling?
No, I mean it's
like this is a hit. This one's going to be a hit.
Well, your management always weighs in on that, and you know what I mean. Like that's how it goes. People go, "Oh, I think," but it's funny. We all have different ideas about it, but you definitely have like the one or two or three contenders where you're like, "Ooh, this could be a single," but what do we lead with? Because the thing about Neon Trees, if I may toot our own horn, is we have a lot of album songs that could have been singles. It's just, you know, the way that music industry is, rarely do you have a band that gets a bunch of singles off of an album anymore, you know, because people just move on so quick. But I feel like we have a lot of songs that could be singles, so it's just choosing, and it's hard. Yeah. It's like
and do you guys collaborate well with management and the producers and all that? I mean, everybody's watched the Queen's story.
Sure.
Where the Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, where he's like, nobody's going to listen to a song that long. And they're like, well, we're out then. And you're going to be the guy that lost Queen.
That was back when the musicians had any kind of leverage. I feel like that's not a thing
Doesn't
anymore.
happen anymore.
I mean, we have principles. Obviously, there are things we won't do and like things that we put our foot down about. But like, it's just not.
It's not like that anymore.
No, it's not like that anymore. Because labels will be like, whatever TikTok artist is coming up, we don't, whatever. Like we don't even have a label. We have our own label, so that's not a thing anymore. But when we did have a label, it was not that dynamic.
No.
We put our foot down about some stuff, but other stuff, it's like, listen, you're one of hundreds of bands that we could be working with, or millions that are trying. You know what I mean? So you don't have a lot of leverage. So you just do your best.
But if they said this one's not going to make the cut, and you guys were adamant, no, we really want that one.
Okay, well, can I tell you a funny story about Everybody Talks, which is to date, like numbers wise, our biggest single, right?
I love it.
Our label actually said we're gonna not support that song anymore, like a week before it hit. So it came out, and it was out for a few weeks, and they were like, we don't want to support that song anymore. And we were like, but wait. And we got that Buick commercial, which ended up being the Neon Trees Everybody Talks commercial, because nobody remembers what that commercial was for. But they remember our song was in it, and we were in the bus.
Sold a lot of Buicks.
Yeah.
Well, I think it sold a lot of our song is what it did.
It did.
Thank you to Buick.
But they ran that campaign for an extended period of time.
Weeks.
Everybody was, and that ad was on major sporting events and major shows. Like it was big. It really got you out there.
So we had filmed that already, and it hadn't come out yet. And they were like, we're going to pull our support of this song. And we were like, can you just wait till that thing comes out? Just wait. And so luckily, like management begged them, please don't. So they relented, and they were like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And then that thing came out, and it
just killed it.
And then management said, we knew it all along.
Right.
We just knew that.
You just go like this. Thank you.
Elaine Bradley's on the Wise Guys, BYU grad, drummer for Neon Trees. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. And we invite your reactions all over the world to join us here tonight. Let's climb into one of let's talk about Grace Notes for a second.
It's really cool. So you host Grace Notes on BYU TV. It allows you to climb into the minds of musicians to get backstories about their songs and that kind of stuff. How fun! You mentioned that you love that you have these two lives. What is about that show and about that opportunity that you love so much? And tell people about that a little bit.
Okay, so Grace Notes, just for those who don't know, which is many probably, is a music show on BYU TV. You can stream it online for free. And it's basically artists who either are Christian artists or who are Christians who happen to be artists. And we have them on the show. They perform usually a stripped down version of what their songs are. And then they sit with me on a couch. I'm in a comfy chair. The comfy chair is nice.
Yeah.
And we
need to get comfy chairs.
These are nice.
Yeah.
These are nice. If I were leaning back, you'd have lumbar
It's
support.
always more comfortable.
It's good.
It's more comfortable, too, being the host in a comfy chair.
Oh,
because you know exactly where you're going, and they don't.
As an aside, I hate sitting. So like all of my jobs required me to sit.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating. And
Yeah.
I fly a lot, so that's sitting.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to just pace the airplane.
It makes us
you know what I
nervous
mean?
when someone's
Yeah.
pacing.
Absolutely. So I get up as much as possible within social boundaries. But anyway, back to Grace Notes. So I'm in a comfy chair, and then I get to talk to the artists about, like, it's cool because we don't really trifle with, how did you get your band name? Or like, oh, tell me about how you started playing music. It's how did you form a relationship with Jesus Christ?
Right.
You know, how did you gain your, whatever you believe is hard won. Tell me about that process, and tell me about the songs that you wrote.
And these are
what those
mostly
mean.
Christian musicians?
Yes,
Is that right?
absolutely. Christian musicians. Okay. I mean, mostly. We've had a few on that were more agnostic, but spiritual people,
Right.
which is great too, because I mean, everybody's got something to contribute. Everybody's lived a life and seen things. So it's really cool to get to communicate with people on that level immediately. So what I usually do, since it's a deep show and I don't chit chat well, I love conversation. I do not chit chat well. Passing time for no reason, just dip, 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 I can't do it. It's usually like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, tell me about the most traumatic thing that happened in your childhood. It's like that kind of like level,
Wow.
right? So that for me, it's like, it feels very natural. So usually the guests sit down before the camera's rolling. They have to do light tests and stuff like that. So I'll talk to them about snacks or something like that. I'll be like, tell me about your favorite snacks, which is also one of my favorite topics to discuss, by the way.
Snacks?
If you want to talk about snacks.
Okay.
Oh, we talk about
Avid snacker.
breakfast cereal here.
Yeah, that's
so we
coming
can do
up.
that. Yeah,
That's
that's coming
coming
up.
up.
So
All right. Okay. I look forward to that.
So when Grace Notes is being recorded at BYU TV, often our show is also being recorded at a different part of the building. And there's like an army of people with the Grace Notes. And then there's just a sniper, really, with after further review, for example.
and they're like, hey, could you do us a favor? Could you please stay out of Elaine's way?
could you stay out of the dressing room
Right,
outside? But
because-
we know her.
They're
They said,
using
beat it,
They're
guys.
using Studio A. You guys need to go to Studio C and mind
And
your own
could you
business.
keep it down
Yeah.
in there? And then we look through the little glass and we go, we know her. If she knew we were out here, she would say,
She would
but it's
let us
like,
come on
forget
the
it.
show.
Listen, they do kind of treat me like the precious, like, which
Yeah, we're not exaggerating
I
here.
know, but the thing is, like, I don't know that I require that, but at the same time, I understand it because
Yeah.
you got to be in a headspace to like do a show like that, you know. So you don't want to be.
Our colleagues at BYU believe we are the
No, because
prima donna.
here's the thing. I've never heard anybody call Elaine a diva at this station, but they call Dave one.
I'm not a diva, Dave.
Sometimes. Why? I don't even know what that means.
do you do?
No, 'cause we have a vote sometimes, but I'm like, all right, everybody. Here's the argument right now. Who's a bigger diva, me or Dave? And everybody, I'm like, all those that say Dave, everybody. It's Dave.
Oh, nice.
You know, as the writer of the stuff, you have a vision.
There we go.
You have a vision for how things are supposed to go.
and you know what you want.
And then that usually happens, and then
Yeah.
that's usually when I.
Okay,
If we
luckily-
need Dr. Peppers, they magically show up.
Oh,
things like
absolutely.
that.
That's true. Yeah,
understandable.
he does get what he wants.
They did get me special crafty. You know, crafty for those who aren't on the.
And
film
when
set
you're in
is
the
when
green room, just so you know,
It's a
we're
snack.
out.
Crafty is all
We're
the
out.
snacks and the food that
It's
they
a
bring.
snack spread, right? So,
And they have tables full of stuff for us when we do
well,
shows.
and it's usually, if I may just overgeneralize, it's usually just crappy food. It's
Yes.
usually like packaged things, like, and people get excited because who doesn't love a table full of free
Right.
packaged snacks, right?
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit of a diva in that way.
Are you like a
where I'm
food purist?
I am not gonna. No, I love a cheat snack. I freaking love it. Not even cheat. I just love a treat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I love a treat.
what? Like ding dongs?
No.
Like
I don't,
what?
what's
No,
a
I
treat?
have standard, like dark chocolate
I
almonds.
have standards.
Ding dongs are surrounded by dark chocolate.
So dark
No, they're
chocolate
not.
almonds.
That's wax. They're
Yeah, I like dark.
wax-coated.
I like dark chocolate almonds. So
I love
that's
dark chocolate almonds, and I love so if I'm gonna like Ben and Jerry's, I will down a Ben and Jerry's in one sitting. I love it, but I'll do it on purpose. I don't
That would
wanna-
be a snack.
I don't want to eat sugar in my like nutrients. Do you know what I mean? So like that table doesn't offer me a lot. So they did nice things, but I was like, hey, can I get some? You know those little snapped like pickled things. They have like pickled carrots and pickled.
That
peas
sounds
and stuff
way
like the
too
green
healthy.
beans.
Yeah, you
It's
lost me at
delicious.
pickled.
Oh, I love pickles.
I grew up in a house where you ate ice cream every night before you went to bed. My entire growing up time. Yeah.
I would love to do that.
So I
Sometimes
can't
do that.
anymore because I have to watch my figure. But you know.
sometimes I do that. I'll go through phases. Well, I'll be like, and that's enough of that.
we bought 6 things of Ben and Jerry's the other night at the grocery store.
Were they on sale? Did you go to
No,
Smith's?
my
No,
daughter-in-law.
it's like $50.
My daughter-in-law and my
more than
son,
that
they were at the grocery store with me, and they said, "Dad, didn't you grow up in a house where you guys ate ice cream every night?" And I go, "Yeah." And they go, "You don't even have ice cream in your freezer." And I go, "No, I do not." And they said, "No, we're going all out right now."
Unacceptable.
6 things of it.
I love that.
So you get a grill musicians about their backstories, so we want to grill you on yours here for just a couple minutes.
Go ahead.
Because there's some fascinating things that's happened in your life. Let's go back to when you were 7.
Okay.
Your family, you sing, doing the dishes and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Your brother gives you a Led Zeppelin cassette tape.
He did. Yeah.
What was your favorite song on that tape?
Okay, well, I can tell you. So he gave me a couple at the same time. He gave me Led Zeppelin 1. Amazing. The drums on that are so
Look,
good.
I have 5 sisters. When they were 7, I was never thinking, I'm going to get them a Led Zeppelin cassette.
Oh,
He's
luckily.
an AC/DC guy, though.
Okay.
Which I don't get.
But your brother,
either. It's like one song over and over and over.
I don't get it.
But no offense.
that's for another show. But your brother gives you this cassette, and some magic happens.
It does. Okay, so first of all, that was the brother that I always thought was so cool.
That was your favorite one?
Yeah, how you have that sibling where you're like, they're so cool.
And you
I'm
had
the
6
youngest.
older,
6
right?
older siblings.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of 7. So they all had their value addeds,
Mm-hmm.
but he was the one where I was like, oh, dude, he's just so cool, So he gives me tapes, and I don't think whatever. I think, oh, you're giving me something, I will pay all of the attention to it. You know what I mean? Because you're cool, and I want to be around you, and I want to be able to talk to you about what you gave me. So give me an excuse.
Was
for
he
you to
like 15 at this time or what?
So he's 10 years older than me. So he's 17.
Oh, he's 17.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Old enough to
so
appreciate Led Zeppelin cassette.
That's at the age where you're really into music,
Oh yeah,
too.
and he'd actually moved out and then come back home. So he came back home and then gave me this tape.
And
I
was
was
Stairway to Heaven on this one, or what?
So Led Zeppelin 1, it was actually Physical Graffiti that blew my mind. So I'm listening to Physical Graffiti, Cashmere. Do you know the song?
Yeah.
I do.
I think Kanye sampled it. Da-na-na. No, was it Kanye or was it Puff Daddy?
I don't know.
Da-na-na.
Blaine would. You should know
Da-na-na.
that. That's in your
Da-na-na.
genre.
I don't know if Kanye or Puff. That is my genre, but I don't know who
Yeah.
did the
Anyway,
remake
one of
it.
those,
Yeah.
Okay.
really
Yeah.
large
Yeah.
rappers, not in size, but in,
Big in
Fame.
In status.
Yeah.
fame. Exactly. So anyway, the bridge of that song, it opens up in a way, and it gave me goosebumps for the first time, music wise. And so I remember feeling like, oh, and I remember rewinding that tape to that spot, trying to chase that same feeling. I feel like I've been chasing that feeling ever since.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you're just that first time of like, oh my goodness, that made me feel all the feels. I gotta get it again. And so I think I fell in love with rock and roll through Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
But then I also had a bunch of older siblings that loved Depeche Mode. So
Oh,
I would
yeah.
listen to Depeche Mode tapes all the time.
And is
too.
it true your family would sing Depeche Mode doing the dishes?
Absolutely. That's how I learned how to do
People are
harmony.
people that'd be singing that while you're doing the dishes?
Absolutely, yes.
That's awesome.
And I'm trying to think, Neon Trees, would I say that that's a blend of Depeche Mode and Led Zeppelin?
There are definitely elements
There-
because we're a pop rock
certainly,
band.
yeah.
So you have the pop of Depeche Mode with the rock of Zeppelin. I think a lot of people are surprised when they see us live because we're a rock band
Right.
playing pop music.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So it started with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
It did.
So,
That's cool.
so now we're gonna jump to your 13th birthday. You want a new drum set? That's what you want for
I
your
do.
birthday.
I do.
Your parents are gonna take you shopping, but
No, my mom.
Yeah, but instead of going to get a drum set, you go on a shopping spree for clothes at the mall, but
Yeah.
you never quite get to the mall.
Okay, yeah. So this is a cute story. My mom's a gentle, cute, just a sweet lady, sunny disposition. Just she bats her eyes and she's uncomfortable, like, oh. That's
We send our
not
best
me."
because we're going to send you the podcast and you can send it to your
Yes.
Carolyn, love her. Anyway, so I had a Sears drum set in 6th grade when I was 12, and I had just beaten it to death. It was done. The
Yeah, the
cymbal
skins was just like you could just hit right
dented,
through them.
crazy, and it didn't sound good anyway. But I played it all the time, so I'd proved okay, this isn't just a phase. I'll play it. So I'd ask for a drum set, and my mom's like, well, for your birthday, we're going to take you on a clothes shopping spree. And I wasn't a jerk, but I've never been a jerk to my parents.
Nice clothes are
I've
nice.
done things,
Yeah.
that disappointed my parents, but I was never on purpose,
Yeah.
you old people don't know, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, thanks, great. So we're driving to the mall, and we get off of the freeway, and you're supposed to turn right to go to the mall, and she turns left. And I'm like, Mom, the mall's that way. And she's like, oh, and she is kind of a flibberty jib, so it's very believable, right? She's like, oh, and just keeps driving that one. I was like, okay, why don't you turn around? And it was actually one of those adult XXX stores.
No.
And so I'm like, turn around. And she's like, I wouldn't want anyone to see me turning around there. So it was all very believable excuses.
yeah.
And then we arrived at the music store and parked. And so I think we're turning around, right? It doesn't even occur to me. And so she parks, and I'm like, what are we doing? And she was like, well, we're here to get you a drum set. And my mind was just out of my ears.
See, aren't parents
blown.
the coolest
They
in the
are
end?
sometimes. They really are.
What brand was it?
A Tama. It was a Rockstar
So it was
DX.
actually a real,
no, it was real.
a real
like
drum
I
set.
said, they got me the starter $150 Sears kit that
Right.
just did not stand the test of time. It took a year and it was done. So yeah, they got
She
me
got
a
a
one.
real
And that was
set.
the one I played all the way through until I got a Pell Grant in college and started playing drums again. And then I bought a Sonar. That was like my
Nice.
own. But I had that one all the way up until then.
That's a
Wow.
cool story.
What are you playing now? Can you say what you're playing now?
Absolutely. I'm endorsed by Gretsch and I love it.
Oh,
Gretsch,
nice.
everyone
USA.
buy
What
Gretsch.
symbols? What symbols?
Zildjian endorsed by them
Zildjian,
too.
of course, right? Yeah.
I have to. I would have. See, the thing is, I didn't want to be endorsed by whoever would give me stuff. I wanted
You
to
want
be
to be endorsed
what I
by
wanna
who
play.
you want to use.
Yeah, I
right,
wanted,
which I think is awesome.
I
yeah.
chose Gretsch because their worst kit is better than most mid kits of other brands. You
Yeah.
know, so like if I'm doing a fly date, you got to rent a kit. I can't fly on a plane with drums,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if I'm renting their worst kit, it's still great. So that's
Yeah.
why I chose Gretsch. I always played Zildjian because they're awesome.
All right.
Zildjian's just the coolest when it comes to symbols.
Let's
so.
go to another key moment. You're 21. You're out inside of Chicago where you guys grew up, and you're dating this guy who doesn't drink, smoke, swear, all this stuff. And
Yeah.
and church at this point isn't that big of a deal for you.
Well, I would say I would fix it. I would say God at this point was not a
Okay.
big deal to me.
But this is a Christian guy.
But this is a Christian
Right?
guy, and you're
Seemed
like,
like it.
and you're
Yeah.
like, dude,
Yeah.
what's up? And he says to you, and I wrote this down. I think it's important to have a personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
He says that to you, and that resonates.
Because I asked him, hey, what religion are you? And he's like, I don't really have I'm not a denominational Christian. And he's like, but I do think it's super important to have a personal relationship with God. When he said that, my mind was blown.
Yeah, why?
Because I grew up in religion.
Right.
And I grew up a Mormon, not a Christian. You know what I mean? And I grew up thinking that God was an angry God who just wanted to test me in the worst ways and wanted me to be unhappy to see how I would handle it. There's an Elliott Smith song that I constantly think of where he says, they say that God makes problems just to see how much you can stand before you do as the devil pleases. I felt like that. I felt
Wow.
like God would just do whatever. Like my mom once asked me in high school when I was getting really serious about like being in a band. She was like, well, what are you going to do if God, like if that's not the path for you? Like if God tells you that's not what he wants you to do, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm not going to listen. What kind of angry God would give me talents and give me a propensity and
Right.
give me desire and then go, but you can't have it? You know, it just seemed so wrong to me. And I wasn't willing to listen. I was like, any God like that, I don't want to. And I felt like he was like that, so I didn't want to ask.
Brendan and I have conversations about this all the time,
Yeah.
about how culturally, especially culturally,
Yes.
because that's not really doctrine.
No, we're a rules-based religion.
But culturally, sometimes we go beyond the doctrine and we give the wrong impression. We
Here's the problem about truth claims is when you believe something is true, capital T, then there is no room or grace for variance, right? So it's like you either do it this way or you're wrong, and I know that you are. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we grow up feeling that pressure of like, there's no way for me to be me in this because this entails all these cultural things.
Right.
You know?
So you Elaine will appreciate this more than anybody, but after what you just said, but so we get called to serve in a Bishop campus like 4 years ago. We go up and serve for 3 years on campus. And I'm like, what are we doing up here? Why would they call me to be up here?
Right.
And what we decided was one of the most important roles we would have is when these young people in the church would come with these issues, that we would help them decipher. We would call, is that a thing or is that not a thing? Meaning, is this doctrine you're talking about, or is that some cultural thing that's weighed you down?
Right.
And we would just go, no, that's not a thing.
Right.
That's not a gospel principle or doctrine.
Absolutely.
Quit worrying about that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can
Let's focus on this. And I feel like that's what we got put up on campus to help these kids understand.
Absolutely.
So it was
That's
really,
valuable.
it was
I love
really
that.
fun to take that, to understand what we're supposed to be up there for.
Yeah.
So the aftermath of this
so
question changes your life.
Yeah.
It changes my whole headspace, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm an honest person. I think I'm a candid person by nature. I don't know why. I feel like I've always been that way. I'm a very outgoing public person until it's something private and then I'm like the most private person ever, you know? So I'm willing to share a bunch of things about how I think and feel and whatever, right? But then there are things that I hold like this. And I think one of the things I held like that up until that moment was I'm unlovable and God doesn't like me. You know what I mean? And I am fundamentally flawed. There's something wrong with me because I don't see it like you guys see it. I don't feel it like you guys feel it. What am I missing? And so it was like, oh, it must be me. I'm the worst. So I feel like in that moment, it was like, wait, God is an individual to have a relationship. I don't think I'd even heard the phrase have a relationship with God. I don't know. I missed a lot growing up. I don't know. I got a lot of the culture and a lot of the rules and not a lot of the love and relationship. You know what I mean? And I don't know, it's probably on me that I missed it, but I missed it completely. So that just changed my whole headspace of who God is. I was like, oh, he's someone to be known, and he's someone who wants to know me. No, not somebody tell me what I am and have it feel like it's grinding gears, but somebody to go, I made you that way. You can be that, and you can tell me about it. I never thought I could tell him about it. I thought I had to censor for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can't tell him how I really feel.
What
so I'm
giant
just not
relief!
gonna play.
A giant relief, isn't it?
So once and I'm certain that didn't just come in a night. That came up. That was a process to get to the point where that mindset changed, right?
Well, that was a night. That was one of those moments in life. I think there are only a few in life where you can. It's a feeling, and it's like almost an audible, like a shift.
Wow.
Where my thinking just went, and a door opened up, and I was like, okay, God is a thing. It's a thing. God's a thing. I should probably know. I'm an honest person. I should probably know what that means, because I've never not believed in God. I just always thought it was one that I was afraid of and who didn't love me or like me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, I should probably get to know him. So that was the hard shift that led to the development.
Wow. And so then the development comes and leads to you getting active back in the church again. And then you...
Not for a while.
But
beautifully.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Like there was a process, right?
Yeah.
There was a process.
Yeah.
From that point, there was a process that led you to going out on a mission.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Going out and serving in a mission.
Never wanted to do that.
You meet Elder Bryce Taylor on that mission?
I did.
Which, and tell everybody why it was important that you met Elder Bryce Taylor.
Okay, well,
mission.
Elder Bryce Taylor. First of all, I have a 10-year-old son named Bryce after Bryce
there
Taylor.
You go.
This is how seminal Bryce is. It's like, he's like,
He's on the end.
Yeah,
He's in.
I hope we like hang out in heaven. Absolutely. I hope that, I don't know what heaven's like. Honestly, I don't think anybody does, but I feel like I'm going to
No
have
one
a
comes back to
relationship
tell
with
us.
him.
Just the one who's come back.
One thing I'm sure of, there is football in heaven.
There you go.
There has
So why
to
would
be.
you have these fervent feelings if there weren't something similar? That's
right. Right.
But anyway, no. So Bryce Taylor.
And there's music.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I mean,
please,
how would you
yes.
be able to feel the Spirit through music if music wasn't a thing?
There's music and there's sports in
Yeah.
heaven. Let's just agree on that.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so
because
back to Bryce Taylor.
there
I
we
saw a
go.
quote today from Ella Fitzgerald who said, the only thing better than singing is more singing.
Nice.
So there has to be.
Yes.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I can see that. Okay, so Bryce Taylor never served together. We served like in similar zones. There was like a double zone that was called the street preach at the time, is when you get together and you sing songs and talk to people on the street. In Germany, this is where my mission was. And he saw me across the way grab a skateboard from a kid I was talking to and do a kick flip. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, I got to meet
That's
her.
the cool sister.
And then he was in the missionary, like the office elders have kind of different rules. So they were allowed to listen to my music from before the mission, and it was rock music, right? We're not talking about mission music. We're talking about like my rock band that I played guitar in. And he heard that, the band, they're like, he's like, what are we listening to? Because he was a rock kid. And they're like, oh, this is Sister Dodie. That's my maiden name. Sister Dodie's old band. And he was like, what? So he got permission
Light
from our
goes
mission
on.
president to call me. We'd never served together. We'd met like once, I'd seen him, whatever. And he calls me right before I go home and he goes, hey, it's Elder Taylor. I was like, why are you calling me? I automatically, I'm like, rules. And he's like, don't worry. I got permission.
It's all good.
He's like, I need to know, what are your plans for after mission? And I was like, well, I'm going back to Chicago and I don't know, we'll see. I might like apply to BYU. I might not. I don't know. And he's like, listen, I live in Utah. Come to BYU. And I was like, okay. He's like, no, we have to play music together. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's jam, bro.
Wait,
like, whatever.
and he's not talking about we're going to make beautiful music together.
He's talking about
we're
getting a band together.
Not one bit.
We're getting a band together.
Yeah. So he gets my information. I'm like, whatever. I'll never hear from him again. I get home 6 weeks before him, living my life. And 6 weeks later, sure enough, bling, I answer the phone. Sister Dodie, when you coming out? And I was like, hello. And he's like, yeah, this is Bryce Taylor. When you coming out? Every Sunday he'd call me and start with, when you coming out? So I applied to BYU, got in, got a scholarship. I was like, how can I turn it down? So I came to BYU, and that's the rest is history.
And now you're on the Wise Guys.
And he's also the reason I started playing drums, because we got
Right.
together to play guitars. It wasn't that cool. I offered as a favor to a friend. He's my friend.
You're on a band.
Well, and he played guitar.
He played guitar.
So it's like, okay, you already got that covered. I'll play the drums because.
Absolutely.
And let's face it, you were an accomplished drummer as well.
Now I am because of that. But I feel like I got back behind there after watching a drummer who was good and was like automatically better from air drumming and stuff. So I was like, okay, I can do this. That's cool.
Now, our research department did some stuff here.
Yeah, is that you?
So so you go on your mission to Germany. We Googled a list of Latter-day Saint Americans who've served in Germany. We just picked some of the names.
Yeah.
Okay.
A few.
Here are the few. David A. Bednar,
Okay.
current apostle. Joseph B. Worthland, late apostle. Hugh Nibley.
Nice.
Orson Hyde. Alan C. Ashton, the founder of Word
Yep,
Perfect.
we
That
know
was his
Alan.
paper boy.
Yep.
And Elaine Bradley.
There you go.
That's a nice list.
That's a
right
list.
there.
That's a good
That's
list.
a nice list.
I mean, don't forget that Uchtdorf was born there. And
Well,
like,
yeah, but
came
he
from-
didn't serve his mission there.
He didn't.
These are,
he didn't. But
How
like,
about that list?
He's important.
He
you
is
know?
important, absolutely.
He's the silver fox. Don't forget him.
But look, you're on that list, and I think
Thanks.
that's impressive.
Pretty cool.
Now, we also found in our research that you openly talk about your Heavenly Father and how a combination of courage and trust, as you've said it, in Him is how you got to where you are in your life, even at this moment.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
And the youth of the church, and I know you spent a lot of time with young women as an advisor and teacher.
Funny fact, I've never been in the Young Women.
Weren't you in the Young Women when we met?
No, but I was the Sunday
9
school
years ago?
teacher for 16, 17-year-olds.
Okay,
Favorite calling.
all right,
That was great.
same group,
That
same
was
group.
great, yeah.
That group of people seem to be starving for your kind of experience of God loves me,
Yeah.
wants me to be happy, and paved a way for me to do that. It's going to give me my choice. But it seems like your life message resonates back to when you were 17.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 17, no, well, first of all, I was, I think if anything, not ambivalent, but actually angry with God when I was 17, and unwilling. I think I was an unwilling believer because I always felt that it was true that there's a God and I think to a certain extent, I developed my own personal testimony of Jesus Christ later.
Yeah.
I would almost even say post-mission. I feel like I became a Christian in my late 20s and early 30s, And so I feel like that, and that's information hard won. I know we believe in Jesus Christ in our church, but we get so specific about so many things that it's like the doctrine of Christ gets all like, well, and then there's Joseph Smith, and then there are modern day prophets, which is great. I mean,
Right.
Not talking bad about it, but I feel like Jesus Christ being the thing sometimes gets placed a little lower than it should. And I know that good old Russell M. Nelson has been
He's put right back square in the center, right?
He's attempting to talk about him more, at least.
Yeah.
Mention him more.
We've noticed that the last couple of general conferences, like, whoa. In fact, I just said that's 6 straight talks on the Savior, like which was I thought was really, really cool.
Well, I feel like when you understand the role of the Savior, I mean the Godhead. Talk about the Godhead. If you understand the role of God and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, when you understand those roles, then you can understand yourself a little better and where you fit in and how they talk to you and what they expect of you. And I feel like the Spirit is how we get communicated to, and Jesus Christ is our advocate and our Savior, and God is the ultimate creator, but Jesus Christ then was the sub-creator. It's like when you understand that stuff a little more and just their nature, what their goal is with you. And I think we assume things like be ye therefore perfect. Perfect from the root word translated isn't actually without sin or blemish.
Elder Hollins worked hard to try to get people to just go
understand that
look, just
whole.
do your best. Let grace do the rest.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he wants you to be a whole, like a body and a spirit together.
Yeah.
He wants you to be whole as Jesus Christ. Everybody's going to be whole because we're all going to get a body. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like we stress out about a lot of stuff we shouldn't stress out about, and then don't stress about the stuff that we should.
Probably should.
Man.
We have a theme in our stake this
Elaine
year.
and I we could hang out every day. We could hang out every day.
So the theme in our stake around here is that we need more Jesus
Absolutely.
in our
which
life.
we love. President
and
Ogletree is
all that stuff.
Dave just gave a talk, and was it state conference? You gave a talk
With all the wards.
Yeah,
kinda
he's had to
doing
come
that.
around. Yeah, but it's.
But it's the simplest of all things.
It's so from a kid that grew up in New York, where there were no members of the LDS Church anywhere. Like I was the only one in my high school till my sister came. That doubled the population, right?
Yeah.
When she was a freshman and I was a senior. But it's, and having people tell me my whole life, well, you're not a Christian church. I'm like, what are you people talking about? Of course we are. It's the Church of Jesus Christ. It's like, so it's made me uber focused on that. And so like, I love when it's a year like where we're studying the New Testament, you know, and so it's just forced me to, I've had to defend that thought so many times that it's made me roll up my sleeves and go, no, that's what I need to focus on. That's what we all should be focused on. We're not focused enough on that.
Yeah.
So you and I see the same.
Absolutely. And I feel like you can be a member of any Christian church and still not be a Christian. Like I feel like I was a member of the Mormon church and didn't know Christ for a long time.
Yeah.
And then got to know and was like, oh man, this is revolutionary. This makes everything make sense. Like I have been focusing on the wrong things for so long and it's made me miserable. You know,
and it's so fulfilling to come to that realization.
Yeah, that
wow.
like I don't need to stress about stuff that I was stressing about nearly as much. Jesus has got me. But I never attended a BYU football game in person.
Why?
I don't know. I just never
You didn't have a rock
happened.
pass or what?
No, here's the thing about like gatherings. I want people to come to my stuff, but I don't like going to large gatherings.
That's awesome.
Just the way it is.
So speaking of gathering,
Plus, I like hearing the announcers. Honestly, I like.
Oh, see?
No, I mean it.
If we
like watching it on
have
TV.
people like Elaine, then we don't have a job.
I like watching on TV because I feel like I get more of the full picture with the announcers telling me the background of the player. Like this is what happened here, and like sometimes you pop in on a game and you don't know what's going on, and they're like, oh, as we know,
you get all
this
the stuff
is what's happening.
Who's going to tell them that Andrew George, who caught the overtime touchdown, also is a great musician that is the best imitator of Jack Johnson I've ever heard.
You see, I wouldn't know that.
She wouldn't know that if she went to the stadium.
I'm missing
That's
out.
true.
She stays home to get
And
that
what
stuff.
people may not know is you actually love sports.
I do.
Sports and music are almost the same, aren't they?
I feel like playing sports as a kid, because I played sports seriously through high school, and I could have played in college, but I had to choose because it was just too much.
Tough to be in a band.
It's a
and
time eater. You know what I mean? When you go
Right.
to do a college sport, that's what you do.
Right.
And I also had my band in high school, so I kind of was to the point in my senior year, I was like, I got to choose one. I can't be doing this band and want to tour if I'm going to be playing basketball. And I loved basketball. That was my sport. I
Really?
loved it. Yes, I loved it.
And you were pretty good?
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
It's interesting to listen. So Max talks about one of the reasons that the overtime play was so big for him is because of the noise. The one of the 4th and 18 was because he's never heard Lavelle Edwards Stadium louder. For an athlete, you're out on the field, there's 80, 90, you play at Texas, 111,000 people there screaming all down at you, and you just kind of take the moment in and you feed off of that energy. You're up on stage.
Yeah.
And you're also
It's very similar,
feeding
yeah.
off of the energy. What's it like when you're up on stage and you're playing, and all of a sudden the entire audience starts singing the song back
Oh, it's
to you?
amazing. It's amazing. That's one of those things where like you dream of it as a kid. Like as a kid, I always wanted to be in a band, or like I always wanted people to watch me. That's it. I mean, I just wanted to do something where people would watch me and be impressed. You know what I mean?
Shooting 3-pointers, playing the drums.
Yeah, exactly. Or like doing acting, or like whatever it was gonna be like, please watch me. Like I wanna, but also don't ask me too many questions, but also watch me intently, but also let me have my private life. Anyways.
Don't look at me, but look at me.
Look at me, don't look at me.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I mean that feeling is amazing. And people say like, oh, one of the questions you get is, don't you get tired of playing Animal? Don't you get tired of playing Everybody Talks? Because you're expected to play it, right?
Right.
And there have been bratty bands that have been like, we're not playing the single. If you
And
wanna
I
come
hate
see
that
us-
as a guy who bought a ticket.
Absolutely.
Because if I go to a concert, I want to hear the new stuff, but I also want to hear the classics.
You have to, yeah. So
Yeah.
we've not ever been that band. We get it. We're grateful. We're like absolutely present. Like we don't deserve this, but we got a shot at it. So let's enjoy it and like do our best. And obviously we take it seriously. We just happen to get there, but we work for it and then we appreciate it. And I think we've done a really good job of that in real time. So we don't get sick of playing our songs because the energy from every crowd is different. So like you're playing Animal, if you go on tour and you're playing like 6 nights a week or 5 nights a week, then you're playing it 5 times and
Right.
then you're doing that over 7 weeks or whatever. It can be a lot. But every time you play it, it doesn't feel like, oh, it feels like amazing. Look, they love it.
We love seeing Def Leppard when they come. and the lead singer, something Elliott, I can't think of his first name, but anyway, he comes out. They just put out a new album, none of which we were interested in.
No,
you know,
no
and
one
if
is.
it's not classic rock, so no one's going to play it.
Yeah.
And he comes out and he goes, "Hey, we put a new album out, but we know you don't want to hear that. We just love you to know we have some out that you could buy, but we know what you came to hear."
They just played Hysteria
and then
front
they
to back.
played, and they played the whole thing.
Just go.
And I'm just like going, yes. And one year we were up there, Mike Hedrick and I, who I anchored the news with at Channel 5, we were up there for Kiss and Def Leppard.
Nice.
We went to see Def Leppard. Everyone else seemed to go to see Kiss because they had their face paint on and their leather and
whatever.
all those things. But
I'm not a Kiss fan
me
either.
either.
Or,
no.
Yeah.
So Def Leppard,
Leppard, though.
we were a little bugged that
I
Def
love Def
Leppard
Leppard.
came out first because we thought they were the headliners. At least they were us. So they play, and then Kiss comes out and they play 3 songs I'd never heard of before.
Oh.
And we're just like going, you good? Yeah, I'm good. So we're sitting like on the 9th row. We left.
Yeah.
And we're like, this isn't, you know, if they sang what,
Detroit Rock City.
yeah, some of those things where you'd like go, okay, at least I've heard this.
Yeah.
But they're out pushing new material and stuff. So we left and we were leaving, and there was this young couple up leaning against the back fence, and I go, here, let me go make their night. I run over to them. I go, you guys want to sit on the 9th row? And they're like, for how much? And I go, we're leaving. You just right here. They're like, really? And we said, yeah, here you go. Hurry. And they had dead sprint all the way at USANA from the back all the way down to as we were leaving. So I go, at least I know some Kiss fans got what they came for.
That's
but for
great.
me, I didn't want the new stuff.
No, that's
and we're just like, we're good. We're out.
Yeah, so we get that. And what's nice about having more than one single that people like is that we can play Animal like second or third, and people are like, oh, what? They're playing it this early? What will the rest of the set? You know what
Exactly.
I mean? So it's
Yeah.
nice to have a couple to pepper. And of course, we're closing with Everybody Talks because you want that.
Right.
And also, we want you to stay.
Yeah.
So if you want that, you will stay for it.
Sure,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Great point.
So,
How hard is it to pick your set list?
I mean, it's here. The thing is, I think it'll be more difficult once we get this new music going and we incorporate it into the set, because that's always tough because you've been playing the same set for a couple of years and then you're like, oh, and now we have 10 to 12 more songs to look at, and what do we want to actually play? Like there are some album songs from the second and third albums, and actually the fourth especially, that we've never played live. Just never have.
Wow. Just only played them in the studio, laid them down, and then never played them on tour.
So you got a whole repertoire you could go to.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing we learned backstage, I think with Brad Paisley one time, is that
We made friends with Brad at a football
There
game.
you go.
Well,
Yeah.
Brad's dad
Nice.
his
at a
dad,
football
they're
game.
West Virginia
game.
fans.
He's huge
Okay.
West Virginia
We met him on the
Gotcha.
sideline, and now we're friends. We sent him a BYU shirt. He drives the bus in his BYU football shirt.
Nice.
Yeah,
I love
so
that.
fun.
So we thought we made inroads, but when a band says, "Hey, good night, everybody," and they leave, and you're waiting for the encore.
Yeah.
And to us, out in the stands, we might be going, hey, if we cheer loud enough, they're going to come back and play an encore. So everyone's cheering loud enough.
Yeah.
But the reality is you are coming back out for an encore. And even though you say we could stay here all night, you're finishing at like 10:21 and 30 seconds.
Well, yeah, and it's like the venue's like, you will be done by,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They're
So-
like, I'm sorry, you're
so
not going a
we're-
second past 11.
Yeah. So I've learned that when they get out there, right, Keith Urban says, we could play here for 2 weeks. You don't want to go home. We'll just keep playing all night. We're like going, he's off in 6 minutes.
He's
He's
coming.
He
He's doing
knows
this
it.
song, and then he's out of here.
And
He's
so,
just being a charmer.
yeah.
It's cute.
And are there nights where you sit there and go, we just want to stay and play? Or is it such a business where it's like, you've got your 15th song, good night, we got another show tomorrow?
Sometimes, yeah, it depends on the scenario, because here's the dirty little secret about like being in a band and having it be your job, and so it is a business,
Right.
is that we play some shows that are not all about us. We don't always play like glory shows where it's like, people are here to see us. Sometimes we play private gigs where it's like a company throwing a party for their employees and they're willing to pay us a nice, handsome paycheck to
Right.
come entertain those employees. And those employees are all holding one drink in their hand. It makes it really hard to clap.
Yeah,
what
that's true.
So this is what you get. You end, and you're like, you sweat, yeah, and it's like, woo!
You guys rock.
Yeah, and you can hear like Joyce from HR going, "Yeah, I love you guys." You know? So sometimes you don't plan for the encore;
Yeah.
you just play the set and you get off.
And then
the
you get out of
stage.
there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the encore's nice in a good environment.
But there are some magical moments when you're out on tour, and maybe not. You tell us. where you kind of look at each other and go, whoa, this audience is lit. This is an amazing audience. And you feel it, and they're giving it to you, and you want to give it back. You've had those.
Absolutely.
Is there a moment that's been the most like that in all of the tours that you've been on, where you're like, oh my gosh, this audience was so up there, I remember it?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of those. And I think a lot of those happened in the earlier years because it was our first time. You know, like once you've had, it's kind of like chasing that high, you know? Once you have that first thing, then everything else is like, this is so great, but it's not like the first time where it blew your mind. Like, I can't believe this is my life. One of those moments was early on. We got to play this thing called MTV World Stage, and they do it in different locations around the world, and it's international bands. So there'll be like, you know, some bands from America, but then there was also like, so the year we played it, it was 30 Seconds to Mars and us and like this band from Indonesia, I think it was, called Pop Shove It or something like that. And then this K-pop band, you know, K-pop's a huge thing. They played, and it was one of our first like big shows. And I remember taking the stage, and there were like thousands of people out there. And we'd been playing clubs opening for bands. And that was like our first, like where we got treated the same as everybody else. Cause they try to not have a headliner at that show. They try to have everything just be amazing. Right. So we got production, we got pyro, we got cryo, we got like we got the, you know, the riser, the ego risers and the catwalk or whatever. And so it was like, we are playing a real show. That was one of those moments that was like, I'll never forget that feeling of like, oh, I can't believe this is my life. Do I get to do this for real? And we're in Malaysia.
So that was in Malaysia that you did this one. Wow.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Have you ever been in a song live and you find yourself playing a different song?
No, but sometimes this worse than not thinking is thinking for me. Because I basically have to unzip my brain and the hemispheres just go goop, and one side of it deals with what I'm doing with my body and the other side deals with what I'm singing. You know? So if I ever am singing and I think about what do I have to play next, my mind goes, no. And like it's just
well, plus
you know,
Elaine, you're playing, which people that don't play drums don't understand that your hands and feet are doing different things.
They are. And then
you're using both hands and both feet.
And then I'm sometimes singing in syncopated ways. And so I have to follow Tyler. I'm the backup singer, right?
Right.
So I have to follow Tyler. Sometimes he holds out something a little longer and it's not on the downbeat. So I'm playing this and then changing what I'm singing. So if I think about it, it's just a nightmare.
But let's just put it this way. She can chew gum and walk at the same time.
Yeah,
and she can probably do the
hop.
thing.
She can hop.
Is it where do you do this and pat your stomach or whatever? Like,
I'll pat my head so I don't mess up my hair. But
you can do it. See, that's a gift.
Elaine can do that
because not all of us can. A lot of us can do some things at the same time. Not all things.
No, it's definitely a gift.
Yeah, a drummer has to be a multitasker, especially a drummer that also sings. So
absolutely. And I don't feel like it's something you can teach somebody who doesn't have a natural propensity to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can get better at it, but if you're fundamentally not good at it, I don't think it's the kind of thing you can get good at.
Yeah.
You can maybe do it, but
this
not
is where like we talk about parallels with that. So Max was talking about when I came out, that was a tough throw because it was the easy throw. I couldn't think about it. I couldn't aim it. I just had to throw it.
Absolutely.
I just had to throw it. If he'd have thought about it, he might have held on to it just a half a second too long and the ball dives or it takes off on you. Or,
right. Yeah, you overthink anything.
And so it's like quarterbacks that think about it don't usually play well.
No, it's
quarterbacks that feel it can do it.
And you practice enough. That's the thing about practicing, because it's like Max couldn't do that as well as he can, but he played years and years of football and learned to feel it. Like he's got that innate talent, but then he honed it.
Right.
So like the same with drum playing and singing. I couldn't do it immediately, but I had the propensity towards it. And so with the more work, the better I am at it.
Reps and reps and reps and reps. And absolutely. Now, don't think about it. Now just do it, right?
Exactly.
It's unconscious. What's that? Phases of learning. It's unconscious. I can't remember. I'm going to think of this.
You'll think of it later.
Yeah, I'm going to think of it on the bus.
We can't help you.
I'm going to think of it on the bus.
There's some things we can help.
Unconscious competence.
Oh, got you.
Because it starts with unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you're supposed to do, and you can't do it.
Yeah.
And then you have conscious competence. So I can do it, but I have to think about it to do it. The ultimate is you want unconscious competence. You don't even have to think about it. You just do it because you're so skilled at it and you've done it so many times. You don't think about it and you do it. And it's almost as if you start to think about it, it will mess it up.
100%.
That's
what it is.
that's the phases of learning, and you to be at the level that you're at have to have unconscious competence.
See, that establishes you as our coolest guest.
Yes.
Because a lot of folks don't have both of those.
No, they do not.
Both of those things.
I mean, I'm sure all the sports people that you have on do.
They have a lot of things.
They wouldn't be where they are if they
things.
didn't, you know?
Yeah. I'm sure when Danny Ainge steps up in a world championship game.
He wasn't All-American in three sports.
Playing for the Celtics.
So
and he's got to make a free throw in the world championship game. He just does his routine. He probably doesn't even think about it. The game's on the line. If I don't make this, we're going to lose the world championship.
You talk a lot in sports about muscle memory. Like with free throws, my coach would have us just, you have a routine. Mine was always spin the ball, dribble twice, breathe, shoot.
There you go.
Never dribble 3 times.
No,
just
that would throw
twice.
me off.
Yeah.
It was muscle memory. I didn't think about it. It just was what it was every time.
Yeah. We're so happy to have Elaine Bradley. It's like a double header of Elaine Bradley here on The Wise Guys, which we have never done before, by the way. This is great.
I'm so grateful.
You've just solidified yourself as the coolest guest.
Now you're in the Hall of Fame.
What other guest has stayed on while another guest came on and then
without an eye roll either, which I thought was awesome.
And what other show have you ever been on where you've talked about the crazy varied topics that we've been able to touch on?
I love it.
Which we love. That's why we love the show.
It's my wheelhouse. I love it.
We love it too.
We got 5 questions that Blaine's going to ask you. Before we do that, let's an insider secret. Share an insider secret. So you're on stage and the band's playing, and there's going to be a guitar solo. So somebody takes off on a guitar solo. And as we watch concerts, like with Keith Urban, he goes off and does his thing, but he's always looking back at the drummer. Are you watching, because let's say, who's your lead guitarist?
Chris.
Let's say Chris is going to play now for a little bit, and he's feeling it, and he might play for a little while on a solo. Is that all timed, or is he looking back at you to go, okay, I'm done now, let's wrap it up?
So there's a difference between a pop rock band and a jam band.
Okay.
You know? And like, I think certain types of musicians gravitate to one or the other. Chris is the same as me, where it's like, nope, we'll have the formula. That's what it's going to be every time. Please don't give me extra time. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? We are not a jam band. We don't want to be like, but I'm feeling it, so it's going to be 3 minutes like, no.
So plus your song isn't going to be 10 minutes longer while you start messing around.
We have backing keys tracks because we don't have a keyboardist that plays with us live. So we have a bunch of keys in our music. So yeah, it's like, if you don't stick to that, Chris, that's on you. I'm changing.
So he could mess up the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So I got to hold it down, because if I screw up, everybody's done. But if I can hold it down, then it's like people can recover.
Who are you watching? Who are you watching while the 3 are doing their thing?
I mean, I usually look at Tyler because I'm singing with him.
Okay.
So I got to figure out when, like, I will literally watch him to see when he's going to cut something off so I don't sing over.
Okay.
So if he cuts something off, I need to cut off. You know what I mean?
Because
if he goes longer or shorter, I got to be with him.
There's not a director or a conductor.
Yeah.
Right.
And
It's all on feel.
He'll pick a different note. And so what I normally sing won't go. So I'll have to immediately cut out. So I'll be like, no, it's like, I got to be, so I usually am watching Tyler. Plus, I'm a lyrics person. So, like, I know where the songs are going based on what he's singing. So if he messes up, he's like the only person that can really mess me up. Because I'll be so into it, and I'm not thinking about what I'm playing. I'm just thinking about, like, how much I like the song. And so I'm excited for this line coming up. And if he botches the line, I got to really be like, that, like, takes me out of it. I'm like, oh, man, he just said the wrong line. He just said the second verse for the first verse. And I got to think about what I'm doing. And so that kind of throws me off.
All right, one other thing that I'm fascinated by, rock stars. So Keith Urban it's the Keith Urban night. He was at Stadium of Fire. And
by the way, Keith Urban, a drum set comes up out of the floor,
and he
comes
plays
up
the drums.
and he plays the drums with the drum.
Not as good as you, but he plays.
No, but I was like,
Sure.
I was actually impressed that
probably
for
better.
as unbelievably accomplished as he is on the guitar, he actually wasn't bad on the drums.
Yeah.
It was like pretty impressive.
So they're playing Stadium of Fire, and I was emceeing, and so I was backstage, and I thought, well, I'm just going to watch these guys before I go out there and sit.
Was that Tim McGraw?
No, it was Keith Urban when he was here a couple years ago.
Okay.
And what I was, it's the first time I'd been backstage like that, where I was just sitting on a chair watching them. And they were behind the speakers, right? The speakers are out in front of the stage, blasting to everybody. And these guys are back here playing, talking to each other because it's quiet where they are.
Yeah.
Because they're not in front of the speakers.
So they didn't have the side fills.
They didn't have return monitors or
they had their IFBs
in. Yeah.
But it was the loudness is where the amplifiers take your voice and send it to a football stadium.
So on stage, we usually have side fills because we like to feel it.
Yeah.
Because there's vibration that comes with that. So we'll usually have they call them side fills. It's the speakers pointing at the stage, so you can feel like the bass and like.
But it's not going to kill your
energy.
eardrums.
Well, we have those in, so those act as both earplugs and speakers. Or whatever, so you can have it as loud as you want.
So
to,
you
but
have
it's soft on the
your
outside.
monitors are in your ears then.
Absolutely, but the feel of like a stage, you really can't replicate that.
Yeah, I was just watching them communicate, and I thought that was fascinating because I thought,
they're like, "Hey, bud,
10 feet out in front, it is so loud and numbing to the crowd." But back here, they're like,
"You're doing it this year, right?"
Yeah,
yeah. So he's emceeing his Journey this year.
Journey this year. They're coming back.
Yeah.
It's like a 40,000 sing along.
Yeah,
because everyone knows his stuff.
Absolutely, and they're going to play it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they'll come back.
They're not coming out with new material.
No, they have that replacement singer. So
yeah, and he's
actually
he's
really
very
good.
impeccable.
Yeah.
So I was just fascinated about bands, and when you buy a ticket and sit in the crowd, there's such a different thing happening with your group while you're doing it.
That's why when people like you go, let me watch side stage, you're like, please don't. Please don't, because the action and the magic is out front. Right. So if you watch side stage, you're getting some weird conglomeration of sounds, and it's like it makes us feel self-conscious. We're like, that's not how it sounds.
Right.
Don't watch it from there.
But we get to see you. It's so human.
It is cool.
It's so human when you sit on the side and you're like going, these are just four people who love doing what they do, and the mic and the amplifiers taking it to everybody. And when they're done, they're going to leave and go play somewhere else. Which is what you've done.
Listen, when Neon Trees plays locally again, I got to have you out to the show.
Oh yeah,
I'll let you stand side stage.
We'll stand in front, and then we'll come back to the side.
I would love it.
You get one.
Will the tour come to Utah?
I would imagine. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's our hometown.
We want in. We want to come for
Absolutely.
sure. So that would be awesome.
This whole hour and a half experience has prepared you for these next 5 questions.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you're not even allowed to. These are not deep thought questions.
Rapid
First thing
fire.
that pops to your head.
Great.
Okay. So, favorite sports movie?
Oh man, here's the thing. 2. Can I do 2?
Yeah.
Love and Basketball and Remember the Titans.
Love and Basketball.
Oh, freaking A. It's a Spike Lee joint. It's
Love and Basketball.
Yes,
I'm gonna have to watch it.
heard it.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
You haven't watched Love and Basketball?
Gotta watch it.
First of all, I'm a basketball player, and it's about a girl basketball player who falls in love with a boy basketball player, and they're both trying to play in the pros. Because anyway,
It sounds outstanding.
It's great.
Love and
I'm gonna watch
Basketball.
it, and then Remember the Titans.
And Remember the Titans.
That's
It's a great
popular
film.
one.
Yeah.
That's the first Love and Basketball we've had all year.
Nice. Good.
Good job.
Yeah.
So, Fire and Rain is the theme song in Remember the Titans, isn't it?
No.
Just yesterday morning.
I don't know. They got a bunch of old. They got a bunch of old school stuff.
I mean, they do. Yeah.
Isn't that when Gary Bertier gets in the accent and they play?
Is it the Fire and Rain song?
I've
Really?
seen fire. I think it is.
might be.
I've seen rain. Okay.
I just remember the blue now.
Yeah.
That's like when they're practicing.
That's all old school.
Such a great film. Anyway.
So yeah, it is a great film. But I'm gonna Love and Basketball on my list.
Love it.
Favorite singer or band?
Not named Neon
And
Trees.
it can't be Neon Trees.
Well, yeah.
Because that's your favorite band.
So we're going to take that
It's
right off the
probably
table.
not, but like,
we'll
I love it,
yeah.
but no, it's probably not. I don't know. That's a hard thing because it depends on my mood. And what's funny is I'm a moody person, so like I love expressing myself in music that's like, But when I'm listening, it's often like more down tempo or like vibey music. So I don't know. I mean, right now, can I say right now?
Yeah, right now.
Like right now, I dig this band called Cannons.
Cannons? Okay, I'm going to have to find that one too.
They're just like
Is it like Cannons?
Yeah, Cannons.
So you're so hip.
I'm pretty hip. I mean, whatever.
See, if I just need to chill, I might go listen to who? I don't know. So you're like, when you're just listening to music, you want chill music.
Usually, chill or vibe. Chill or vibe. I mean,
what's the difference between chill and vibe?
Well, sometimes chill is like, like acoustic music, or like it doesn't do a lot of this. And vibe is like, it'll have like a cool bass line and but it's like, it's not like,
So Cannons is vibe.
Cannons is vibe. It's like poppy vibe.
Poppy vibe.
I think you like it.
When I'm going to chill, I
trust
go
you.
listen to Common
Learning
Kings
a lot.
if I'm going to just chill.
Okay.
It just gives me
And I mentioned Elliott Smith before. He's one of my favorite like chill ones, but his lyrics are so not chill. They're so emotionally volatile that like it feels like hard listening, but it's easy listening, but it's not easy to listen to. And I love it. I love emotional music.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to check them both out. Okay, favorite breakfast cereal?
Well, okay. So here's the thing: is I don't eat cereal for breakfast. So my favorite breakfast cereal would have to be my favorite snack cereal, which
Okay,
is
yeah.
more
That's
like
fine.
a midnight snack.
So
and
for
that-
guys who eat it
Golden
3
Grams.
times a day, it's
Golden Grams?
Golden Grams.
Okay, that's a sugary one.
That's my point. It's a treat cereal.
Yeah, so we...
My favorite nourishing cereal.
Danny Ainge comes on here and
Treat
he's like
cereal.
granola.
Is he
I'm
like
are you
Fiber One?
serious
Danny
right
Ainge
now?
is all
Shredded
my
wheat.
Fiber
Shredded
One.
wheat. And then was it Kyle and Marissa that won't let their kids eat
No,
cereal?
they feed them spinach shakes.
Yeah.
Stuff like
Interesting.
that.
I mean,
Kyle
I do
Van
feel like
Noy,
it's
the
smoothie, but they also have
Super Bowl champion
Cheerios.
linebacker that's still in the NFL. He's like, oh no, Marissa and his wife was former Miss Utah.
There's no
He's like-
shame in Golden Grams. That's good.
And then we
That's
said,
a great
he said,
midnight
oh yeah,
cereal.
maybe before
Or
bedtime
6
I might eat.
p.m.
And then he was like Lucky Charms or something, which made
That
me
makes
feel like
sense.
he was a normal human being.
Yeah.
After that, so yeah, Golden Grams are great. I like them. Okay.
You got to move quick though because they get soggy fast.
They do, but I wouldn't call myself a fast eater, but I call myself a well-intentioned eater.
Yeah.
You know, I don't get sidetracked. If I'm going to eat,
stay
I'm going to eat the
focused.
thing.
Okay.
I enjoy the thing.
Captain Crunch for him.
Okay, Captain Crunch.
Without the crunch berries.
Regular?
Regular, straight.
That's
I like it
thank
straight.
you.
Not peanut butter crunch?
No.
Thank you for
Those
If I want peanut
lacerate.
butter, I'll eat a Reese's peanut butter.
Those
everybody.
lacerate the top of
Everybody
your mouth?
knows you have
Sometimes.
no roof of your mouth after
Yeah.
cat
If you're in a
It's
hurry,
just-
you can lose the roof of
It's
your
like a
mouth.
rough car wash
I'm-
machine.
I
Just
know, but the payoff is so
Cinnamon
good.
Life or Apple Jacks. So,
nice. I like cinnamon life. Life's a good one.
there you go.
That gets soggier than Golden Grams does. Though.
yeah, you got to eat it right away.
Yeah, you
Like
can't be messing
honestly,
around.
But can we go health cereal? I love
Yeah,
a
what's your favorite
soggy
health?
grape nuts. Soggy.
Grape
I
nuts?
used to
With
actually
enough
for
sugar on
breakfast-
them, I like those.
No, here's the thing. For breakfast, I used to do this:
Grape nuts and sugar don't go
with
together.
milk in the microwave, and then put bananas in it. It's like a hot cereal. It's delicious.
it's like almost having like oatmeal.
It is, but it's wheat, so it's kind of like
Okay, I could try that one.
cream of wheat, but tastes better
I'm
because
kind
cream
of
of
on a
wheat.
health
Yeah,
food
cream
kick
of
right
wheat.
now, but I did have
Not gonna happen.
I had Cinnamon Life before I came to the show.
Nice.
Okay, so favorite drummer of all time.
Oh, it has to be John Bonham and then Josh Freese.
Okay.
So John Bonham was who I grew up on, and then Josh Freese, he drums for like almost everybody, but the band that he was in that I was like, that is drumming, was A Perfect Circle, which is Maynard from Tool's side project with James Iha used to be in it and Billy Howardale. Anyway, A Perfect Circle. Amazing, soft, loud, like catchy rock. Like gets really intense, but is also very like
See, I always thought she would, because there's
Is
not very
Bonham
many of
the
them.
Led Zeppelin guy?
Bonham's the Led Zeppelin guy. Yeah.
There's not a lot that sing like Elaine does. I'm just like, you know what? How about Phil Collins since he does both, just like
You know, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a great
I
drummer.
thought Phil Collins might be, but
He's got. I mean, Phil Collins is so great because it's the Phil, which is
Right.
like a play on words because he do 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 do
Yeah.
do 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 do.
doom,
Yeah.
doom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since age 7, that's been your favorite drummer.
John Bonham.
John Bonham.
I don't really often care about drummers, so he's one of the only ones I've ever cared
Who
about.
was the drummer for Yes?
I don't know, but that's a tight drummer right there.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I remember.
Rush's drummer
There's
is pretty
Rush's
good.
drummer. Yeah, I know, but it's like I don't care about that stuff, man. That just gets too busy. And
He's
it's like,
got like 5,000 things.
He's
to
an
hit.
impressive
you can't
drummer.
Beat John Bonham.
No, but he's an impressive drummer. But stylistically, I'm like, ugh. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Whereas John Bonham plays like he's simple when he needs to be. He's tasteful. Simple when he needs to be simple. Does clever stuff and then goes right back. He supports the song. I like drummers that support the song and then flair when they can. You know?
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
That I love
makes
that.
perfect sense.
Okay, and then this question 5, your favorite BYU memory.
Oh man. That's a good question. I don't think I've ever thought of that. Let me take a moment. Well, let me just overall say that I really enjoyed my time at BYU. I did. A lot of people like to complain about things about BYU, like the rules and whatever other stuffy things, and those are valid. But I was of the mind of like, I'm so grateful to be at a university that is like a good university that's affordable, where I have people that I enjoy hanging out with, and I had great professors, and so I had a great time at BYU.
Yeah.
But my favorite BYU memory probably is when my old band, so my college band with Bryce Taylor, Elder Bryce Taylor.
The
Elder Taylor.
it's called the
Another Statistic is
Another
what it was
Statistic,
called.
that's
And now we have another iteration, same people, same band called Noble Bodies. And we actually put out music currently. But
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So now
it's
you're
my
in 2
whole-
bands.
where
You
can
didn't
we
tell
hear
us you were in
Noble
3.
Bodies?
You're in 3 bands.
I also sing in a pop band called Kissed Out with Bryce Taylor and my other friend Eric Robertson. Anyway, so I have 3
You're in
bands.
3 bands.
Yeah.
That just took you up another notch.
Watch out, guys.
You came in here with 3 bands.
Like I said, I have passion things, so if I don't write in neon trees, then I'm still doing it other places. So I'm never like complacent about the music thing.
I just want to come when you guys are practicing, sit in.
All right, there you go.
Okay, Kissed Out, Noble Bodies.
Yeah.
Where am I finding those?
iTunes, whatever,
Okay.
like Spotify, whatever platform you listen to music
Are
on.
they on Apple Music?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
fine.
And everyone, we encourage you to do that.
Kissed out, Noble Bodies. Anyway, but favorite BYU memory is another statistic at the time, now Noble Bodies. We got asked, because I was a student there. Fun fact, Neon Trees, I'm the only one who ever graduated from BYU from Neon Trees.
What?
Really?
Brandon went and never graduated.
Brandon, well, next time he's
And
on,
then
we're going to talk about that.
Tyler's never been to college, and Chris went to massage school.
Wow.
There you go.
So
I'm the only
congratulations.
BYU
See,
grad.
that's
Yeah.
that's
Did
awesome.
we discuss how I graduated at the top of my class? Did we discuss
No,
that?
but that
What?
was our next question.
No,
Did you
was
graduate
it?
from the top of your
That's
class?
your favorite BYU memory. You were
That's-
number one.
No, that is a good memory though, because I didn't know. They didn't tell me. It was the the College of Health Sciences or whatever. I graduated in public health, and I went on a tour with another statistic right when the semester ended, and my friend she's now married to Curtis Brown, who was a BYU.
Kim?
He was on our show.
Yeah, Kim. We did
Kim was your friend?
Yeah, she still is my friend. Yes.
Well,
we
not
did-
was.
Yeah, we did public. She's not dead.
CB and Kim are like our kids.
Cute.
Curtis and my son Callan roomed together and played football together.
Oh, I love that.
And so we've known Curtis since you came, and then we've known Kim since they met.
I love that. So she was in public health classes with me because we both did public health.
So you were at
the same
BYU
time.
with Max Hall
Curtis Brown.
and Curtis Brown.
CB, the
Two of the
all-time
best
leading rusher
players
in
that
BYU
have ever
history when he
played.
Oh
left.
yeah, he was an excitement.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyway, so Kim texts me. I'm actually in a movie theater in Columbus, Ohio, watching the Bourne movie, and
Which was a good one.
Bourne Ultimatum.
Yeah.
It was good.
Oh, okay.
And Kim texts me, "Hey, where are you?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I'm in a movie theater in Columbus." And she's like, "You're not coming?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "There's a seat on the stand for you at graduation." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "You're the valedictorian." I was like, "What are you talking about?"
No way.
I get home from the tour and there's a letter that's like, "Congratulations, you're the valedictorian." And I was like, that would have been nice to know. Not that I would have stayed home, but like, it's just so funny how that was revealed
So
to me.
doesn't the valedictorian usually speak?
No, I mean, I feel like it was.
They would just honor you.
It was just. Yeah.
So at
it was
least-
not like of all of BYU. It was the College of Science, whatever.
So when you called your parents and said, "Hey, by the way, I'm number one in
I
my
graduated
class,"
number one in my class.
were they like, "What?" Or they were like, "Well, of course you were."
No, they were. You know what? They're hard to impress. They didn't get impressed until they started hearing Neon Trees songs on the radio, and now they can't shut up about it.
Really?
Yeah, they're these people.
They're all
right?
in.
They're these people. They go in, and it's like, "Welcome to Applebee's." They're like, "Have you ever heard of Neon Trees?"
But you know
It's
what?
like she's the hostess. You're going to interact with her for maybe 10 seconds. Can you please not
Yeah,
maybe
you
ask her
have
about
to.
Neon Trees, Mom and Dad?
You
But
have
guess what?
to.
If your mom and dad didn't do that, it wouldn't be right.
Wouldn't be right.
I
they
mean,
gotta be
You
in.
have to. You have
They
to
gotta be in.
love.
It's cute. It's endearing. But like when I'm around, it's also mortifying. You know, it's like you guys, they
it
don't
can be
care.
embarrassing, but your folks love you so much; they're proud of you. You guys just gotta let them do it.
Yeah, I mean, I let
Just
him
gotta
do
let
it.
him do it.
I razz him about it every time, but I let him do
My
it.
mom said that she listened to our doubleheader the other day, and I'm like, "Why?"
Oh, that's
I didn't even
cute.
listen to our doubleheader.
But you did
It was
it.
7 hours.
Oh, that's
but the parents are they put up with so much from us when we're younger that it's awesome to be able to see them enjoy
Yeah, who we've
us
become.
as we've gotten older.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully
Yeah.
we thank them, which I do.
Yeah.
I love
Give
my
them that.
parents.
Yeah.
My parents are great.
Yep,
awesome.
absolutely.
Did we ever
opposite
get to the memory?
The opposite is they never
No.
talk. The opposite is they would never that they don't care enough to brag about you and
Oh,
talk about you,
absolutely. Or they
which
don't-
would be horrifying.
They never listen. They never call. They never watch. Whatever. Yeah. No. So I guess that would be my favorite non-BYU memory is missing my graduation.
There
and
you
getting
go.
a
Right.
text.
That's a classic, by the way.
Right. But the other one was we got asked to play, because I was a student there, we got asked to play some freshman orientation.
Oh.
And can I just describe Noble Bodies, then another statistic, but now Noble Bodies. If you want to know what that was like, go listen to us and you'll see why we should not have been asked to play that. It's like soft, loud, melodic rock. So there's like some screaming. There's like, I scream in it, Bryce screams in it. We switch sometimes. I play the guitar,
Like
he
a
plays the
startling
drums.
scream?
Yeah. Like
Like
we
Kurt
sing
Cobain-
about.
Cobain
So we
scream?
call it music for your existential crisis because we always just talk about like God and life and the difficulties and
Yeah.
the good and the beauty and whatever. It's like really deep lyrics, but it's like also very like and also sometimes poppy and cute. And so it's like we're all over the place, right?
I've gotta go
Check
hear
it
this.
out.
So was this at the Wilkinson Center?
So this was at the Field House.
Okay.
They had all the freshmen pile in.
Nice.
And they kept telling us to turn down. And I'm like, I'm playing the drums.
You don't turn the drums down.
You can
There's
turn
no
down the
volume.
guitar and the bass, but like then you won't be able to hear them. And then all you'll hear is drums. And that's, I think, worse than any kind of loud band. Anyway, so it was just an awkward 30 minutes or so of us being told to be quiet and us not being at all quiet.
And did you nail it?
We did.
Awesome.
People loved us.
That's great.
Did you guys play back in the day at Club Velour?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I remember
that's actually how I met the guys in Neon Trees, is because that band played with the other iteration, the early 2005 Neon Trees, and we kind of like sniffed each other out. And we're serious.
Club Velour was like a lot of good bands were coming through back in the day there. It was really fun. It was a great place.
Yeah, it was
I mean, they may be now. Maybe I'm just too old and don't go anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
4 seasons of Grace Notes on BYU TV
Absolutely.
app. Where's season 5 at?
I don't know. You know, Grace Notes is one of those jobs that it's actually my favorite jobs. No offense to Neon Trees, but Grace Notes is my favorite job.
And you're good at it.
I love it.
It's amazing.
I love talking about Jesus. I love talking with people non-denominationally about like the purpose of life and just how they got to where I freaking love it. So anyway, but Grace Notes is one of those fickle animals where it's like, after season 1, I didn't know that there was going to be a season 2 until they called and said, hey, you want to film season 2? After season 2, I didn't know there was going to be a season 3. Same thing with season 4. Oh, you want to do season 4? Yes, I do. So I haven't gotten the call about season 5. I hope I do. If I don't, okay. You know what I mean?
And is season 4 available right now?
It is. So season 4 just ended in December, so you can get all the episodes online at BYU.
And do you
you
shoot that in the fall anyway, don't you, usually?
It's been all over. We've shot in January, we shot in February, we've shot in September. I mean, we've shot in April. So yeah, it's...
Well, every single episode is available on the BYU TV app for free. And we encourage you to go and check it out and learn a few things. You get the latest on Neon Trees at neontrees.com when there will be an announcement for this album release.
Yeah.
And
you
tour.
heard it here first, by the way.
Yeah. You did. I wonder if my band's going to get mad
And you're
at
feeling
me.
pretty good about it?
I love it.
Okay.
I'm feeling super excited about everything that's coming up. I'm looking forward to this year. Like, I haven't been this excited about like Neon Trees stuff in a long time.
Do you think it has something to do?
COVID ate something of ours. I mean, we were really excited in 2020, and then that whole thing just ate it. So
COVID ate a lot of.
It doesn't have anything
momentum.
to do with the fact that BYU's joining the Big 12. Does that just add to your
sizzle
joy of
just a sizzle of
2023?
excitement. It's just like we're
It's like, do you want extra bacon with that? It's the sizzle of. That's awesome. Hey, we're honored to know you.
Oh, thanks. I feel super honored that you guys even wanted to have me here. Thank you.
We're
Appreciate it.
so excited to have you on. We've been talking about it for weeks and telling people the coolest guest we're ever going to have is coming on.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for being persistent.
And you lived up to it.
Yeah, we had to work on this for about 6 months.
You lived up to it.
You texted me and like life was insane.
Yeah,
and I was like,
happens.
I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the time. I don't know, man. And so thank you for being patient.
Sure.
Thanks for having me.
And look, the next time you're taping Grace Notes and you look over the door and you see Blaine and my nose is pressed up against
All
the
right.
glass, just say, would you let those 2 guys in?
Well,
I know them.
Fun fact, we filmed season 4 in Nashville.
In Nashville?
We did the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So season 1 through 3, we filmed in Utah. And season 3, we went to Nashville for like a few days. And then season 4, it just made sense because so many gospel artists live in Nashville, Christian gospel, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was way easier to work with their schedules if we were just there.
Right.
That
So,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
But maybe I'll just fly out.
Sometimes we look in at Studio
Use your frequent flyer
Studio
miles.
C2 and they don't let us come in. And we
Yeah.
told Studio C people, like, we're funny.
We said
and they go,
that.
you know what's that funny? The fact that you think you're funny
Right.
is the
They're
most
like-
funny thing about you
and
guys.
that's not
So-
even funny. That's like funny ironic.
Yeah,
That's
right.
not even funny, haha.
So
That's
then we
sad.
just walk over to our studio and
They look at us like, you two,
and
out.
do the show that
That's how it
we never
happens.
knew there'd be a season 2, 3, 4,
10th
5,
year
6,
of
you
7,
gotta,
8,
you
9,
gotta
10,
tell me
11.
because I haven't been in BYUB, the broadcasting building for BYU, because we filmed season 4 in Nashville. So you got to tell me if one of my pictures is still up, because that
there.
was the biggest honor of my
It's
life.
still in the hall.
After season 1, coming in for season 2 and going, I made the
It's
wall.
there. It's
I don't
there.
think we're on the wall. Are we on the
Oh
wall?
man, you have to
No,
be.
we're not
You're
on the
We've
wall.
only been there like 30 years. We're
Hey,
not,
I'm in
we're not on the wall.
the elevator at the student athlete building, and
there you go.
I'm in the elevator at the stadium, on the wall of the elevator.
Oh, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough.
So I'm just like, you know what? What else do I need?
Yeah, you don't need BYUB. That would just be a cherry on top.
Thank you for being
Thanks
here.
I can't stop talking. So
We're just glad.
I'll let you close the show.
I was thinking earlier. It's like she's probably ready to bust out of here, but we're just fun. It's just fun having you here.
We can't believe you stayed with us this long.
Well, thanks.
And honestly, you're the first guest that's ever split another guest, and you're unbelievably gracious for doing it. Thank you for doing
thanks.
that. So
The valedictorian of her class who played in the Smith Fieldhouse. That's back before REO Speedwagon played in the Smith Fieldhouse. Actually, they never have, but you played before them.
Wait,
I don't think the Osmonds got to the Smith Fieldhouse. No. They might have got the Marriott Center, but
That's
not
right.
the Smith
Probably.
Fieldhouse.
That's right.
But the drummer for Neon Trees, but most importantly, our friend, BYU grad, and appreciate the way you represent, Elaine Bradley.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks for being on with us, Elaine.